Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing dumper translation, words explained. I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details, www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing dumper translation, words explained. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you will likely wonder what they meant when they ended their relationship. What did the words they used actually mean? Now, although there is no way of knowing for certain what someone is thinking, in today's podcast, I'll be translating 3 common dumper phrases into the likely meaning behind them. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is it's not you, it's me. Now this is a classic. If you haven't heard this from your ex, you have probably heard other people say that they have heard it from theirs. It is a very common phrase used by people who end relationships. But what does it mean? Well, like I said at the beginning of today's podcast, and this goes for all of the points today, we don't know for certain. You can't guarantee that what I'm about to say is definitely how your ex meant these words. But what I will say is this is a very likely possibility as for why your ex or a dumper that you may have heard of would have used these words, these phrases. So when we look at point number 1, it's not you, it's me. Now, of course, when somebody is saying this, they are trying to get across to you that you've done nothing wrong, it's all down to me, it's my fault, this is why this is happening. Now, although this could be in some part the truth, this phrase is often used as a polite way of saying that somebody is not really feeling within the connection anymore. So if you have heard from your ex, if your dumper said to you, look, I just think we should end things, it's not you, it's me. What this is often going to reference is the fact that they're no longer feeling enough romantic emotional attraction towards you. Now, this is something that you don't want to hear, but the fact that your relationship is over surely should be not a surprise, sadly, that this is the case. When somebody is saying it's not you, it's me, they're trying to get across most of the time that although they're trying to say, look, it's me, I'm the one who's got the problem here, they're trying to use some reverse psychology almost so that you feel, okay, it's not really anything I could have done, and therefore they've got the problem, they're the person who isn't quite right, they're somebody who needs to sort their life out, so that's why they've left me and I'm quite lucky. Now, although, as I said, there could be some truth in this, often it's reverse psychology, because often the dumper isn't feeling within the connection, they're no longer feeling enough romantic emotional attraction, they want to end the relationship, they don't really know what to say, so they say it's not you, it's me. And they're hoping that if they word it like this, that you as the dumpee are going to be less likely to take things badly, you're going to be less likely to try and persuade the dumper to change their mind. You're going to be less likely to be needy and to be doing anything you can to maintain the relationship because they're taking that pressure off you. So in a way, if your ex-dumper has said this to you, and if they're meaning it in the way that I'm explaining it, you could see it as I'm trying to be as kind as possible. Instead of saying, I'm just no longer in love with you anymore, I'm not feeling the romantic feelings I once did, they're trying to almost take the blame and say, look, there's something up with me, I just can't have a relationship right now, I'm too busy with work, I'm too busy with this or that, or whatever the reasoning they have given, they're trying to get across to you that it's their fault. They're trying to take all of the responsibility to try and prevent you from feeling pain. Now, this probably hasn't worked. You're probably still in a lot of agony. This is understandable. You will get through this. Those feelings are temporary, but your dumper in this instance is trying to prevent you from feeling this pain. So I'm not saying you should be happy about this, but at least see it in the way that your ex-dumper is probably trying to protect you somewhat. But almost all of the time, when somebody says it's not you, it's me, what they actually mean is I'm just not feeling it anymore. I don't know what to say, so I'm going to put all of the blame on myself. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about dumper translation, words explained. And point number 2 is I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Now, when a dumper says this, again, similar to point number 1, you can tell that they are trying to soften the blow of a breakup. But what does this mean? Because they are at least being somewhat clearer by including the line, but I'm not in love with you. What does it actually mean? I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Well, in most instances, this phrase, this quote would suggest that your ex-dumper sees you in a platonic way now. Now, it doesn't mean that they have no feelings. That is why they say at the beginning of point number 2, they say, I love you. They do love you. They care about you deeply in a lot of ways. Lots of aspects about you they love. Maybe you shared years together. Perhaps you have children together. They love you, but they are no longer in love with you. The polarity is no longer there. The relationship dynamic is not romantic in their eyes. So if you're a dumpy and you've heard this and you're thinking, well, what can I do? Well, the good news is you can grow romantic emotional attraction again. Just as in point number 1, just as in any instance, there is always the chance of regrown attraction in someone's eyes. Now, certain instances will be more likely and more possible than others, but when we look at point number 2 in particular, when somebody is saying, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, this shows that there is a core affection for you still, and that's really positive. Now, of course, you don't want to be friend-zoned. You don't want somebody to love you in a platonic way, but not romantically, and still spend a lot of time with them, because I often say, if you accept platonic friendship with somebody that you have romantic feelings for, you are going to go through a lot of pain down the line when they get a new partner, when they get a new girlfriend or a new boyfriend, because that is what they'll do. If you're platonic friends with somebody, they are on the market, they are looking for a new partner. And if you're a platonic friend, you're going to have to accept that if and when it happens. So I always suggest not having an active platonic friendship with somebody that you have romantic feelings for. So in point number 2, if you're told this, if you're told I love you, but I'm not in love with you, I would suggest that you implement my version of the no contact rule. Now, if you want to understand more about this, I suggest that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, ring the bell for notifications, and check out my playlist entitled The No Contact Rule. This will explain and fully immerse yourself in my version of the rule and why I believe it will give you the best possible chance of regrowing that attraction. Because you can do it. It's not always possible, but it can happen. Before you and your ex ever met, you didn't love each other. Then you met and love was grown. Unfortunately, love has been lost. But what this shows is love can grow and love can be lost. It can be grown again. It doesn't always happen. There is no guaranteed way to get an ex back. But if you're told that somebody loves you but they're no longer in love with you, this means they're not feeling enough romantic emotional attraction. They're not feeling the romance vibe. There is not the dynamic or the polarity that there should be in this instance, but there possibly could be in the future. You've got to improve your chances, increase your chances of success. And if you feel that I could help you one-on-one, then this may be where you consider my audio coaching service, where I can speak with you, me and you, one-on-one about your specific, unique situation. Go to my website, www.dateme.tips, for more details on my audio coaching service, where I can become your coach and your teammate. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about dumper translation, words explained. And point number 3 is when your dumper says to you, I think we should have a break. So if you are in a relationship and your partner says to you, look, I think we should have a break right now. This can be very, very confusing, but what does it mean? Well, unfortunately, as you can tell by the way I've referred to them as your dumper, in my eyes, if somebody says, I want to have a break, they mean a breakup. Okay, in my opinion, there is no such thing as a break. There is only a breakup. If somebody wants to have a break, in my mind, they have checked out of a relationship. And in my opinion, they are going to use this time away, this break, so to speak, to see whether or not they can find somebody who they feel will be a better connection. Now, the good news is for you as a dumpee, this is very unlikely to take place if they are being honest, if they have not met anybody so far, if they are going into the break soon after speaking with you and there's nobody else in the scene, there's nobody else on the horizon, then there is every chance that they won't find this love of their life during the break period, because it's incredibly difficult to find a compatible person for a long-term relationship. However, there are sadly some instances where there is somebody orbiting around. Maybe there is somebody who you even recognize as potentially someone who likes your now ex, and maybe you worried that your now ex even liked them. Now, if there has already been some concern on this break could be the opportunity they need to try to test out that connection. Now, I'm not trying to make you paranoid. That is the last thing I would want to do. And please, 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 if you are worried that this is the case, think things through clearly. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right. Like I said at the beginning, there is no way of knowing for certain. It doesn't mean they've got somebody in and around that they want to try to test a connection with. But what I would say is, unfortunately, I have seen this instance, this situation occur. Either way, in some respects, it's irrelevant. If you're now ex, I'm going to call them that, even if they're saying it's just a break. If you're now dumper is feeling that they need a break, whether or not they're seeing somebody else, it doesn't matter, because unfortunately, they have lost romantic emotional attraction for you. Whether they are with somebody else, whether they are on their own, whether they are looking, what they aren't doing is being in a relationship with you right now. So if somebody says to you, I think we should have a break, I would try and have a conversation with them, trying to find out their feelings and their thoughts behind this. But if they're really pushing for something and saying, look, we should have a month apart and see how we feel, I would be very wary about what this might actually mean. Now, I'm not saying that you get into an argument and say, look, this doesn't mean what you're saying. I'm not saying that at all. You need to be keeping things as cool, calm and relaxed as possible. But just in the back of your mind, be thinking that when this period of time ends, whether it's 1 week, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it may be, don't be expecting them to definitely come back. Because even if they don't find a new potential partner, which as I've just said is very unlikely, unfortunately, if they have checked out of a relationship mentally, like I believe they may have, then they won't want to reconnect. They will just be happy within their own space. Now, you can use a break as an opportunity to grow romantic emotional attraction. I would say instantly implement my version of a no contact rule. Use the hints, tips and advice that I have given in my other podcasts and through audio coaching to increase your chance of success. Because the one opportunity you do have when somebody says, let's have a break, is you are likely to hear from them again. Even if it's just to say, I don't think we should get back together. Maybe you will actually meet up again as the original plan probably dictated. So you have this opportunity to instantly start trying to grow attraction before an official breakup's taken place. You might be telling people you're still in a relationship for this period of time because it's just a break in your eyes, but treat it as a breakup. Treat it as a breakup, and you can increase the chance of reconnecting by growing the attraction during this time apart. So it can be confusing, it can be scary. It's very unlikely that your ex is going to meet anybody new. There is a chance there's somebody else in and around, but that might not come to anything either. But what I would say is that if they want a break, unfortunately, in my opinion, it's basically a breakup. And your chances of reconnecting and carrying on as normal after this period of time are low, I would suggest, unless you start behaving in a way which is going to grow attraction rather than diminish it. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.